You're up next, Amy.
Okay, well, I also had fun with when I came up to the Owl Sings, and this was in Cyclo Seasons. It's also in Music Maker, so I did it again because I had so much fun doing it in Cyclo Seasons. So my feeling about the Owl Sings is that it's a very long, slow beat, right? It's that ooh, it's a long, slow three, right? And so I thought a dance would help them feel that beat, because I feel like that's what's missing in the Owl Sings. We're always aiming for getting it on the resonator bars like this, like tap. And that's just a long time to feel the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And they don't, and the ooh, ooh, it's a little bit nebulous, like, where are we? So I thought, this might be a good time for movement. So here's what we did. We explored the way the owl moves. So we got our big owl wings out, and we were sitting on the floor and we were flapping our arms like this. And sometimes they just flap them and flap, they get higher and higher above the ground. And sometimes they want to turn. So they have to go like this, and they glide to turn this way. And then they decide, oh, I got to go the other way. And they glide to go this way, right? So that's how we begin the Owl Sings, is with gliding movements. So the first part is, ooh, second time, ooh, then the big flaps, 4 of them, ooh, 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 ooh. So they've felt all 4 of those beats. So when that flapping, I think, really helps assign those big 4 measures, okay, and gives them a place where that's sort of rooted. And for the first time, I feel like in all the years I've been teaching the Owl Sings, I felt like the students were really getting it. They felt it. So that's that. And then we made stars. So everybody makes stars. So we made the stars. And of course, like you were talking about, you can't go too high. I want to go way over my head. And of course, in class, I'll do it this way. Mary's got, yeah, I can see yours. So the stars, and then the stars become shadows. So the stars and the shadows. So we bring that down. Yeah, and it happens pretty quickly, right? Think about that. The stars and the shadows. Then we create a sun. Dawn will come. And then we're ready for the next. Ooh, ooh. Okay, so that's the way that works. So what I'd like to do is put the music on, and every time you hear that the melody, go ahead and do the moves, even if it's an interlude and there are no words, and that's also to help them audiate. So let's put the music on. Excuse me, Mr. Bear. And I'm going to put on my larger screen, and we'll all stand up. And of course, my CD player took a little nap, so wake up, Mr. CD player. Sometimes we have to say that during class. So here comes, and as you're getting ready, maybe try out your flapping arms and see how they're feeling today. And then we'll get started. We could just be... All right, and you get the idea about that.
That is really beautiful. It's a lovely way to do it. I love the way that they'll get the feeling. I love that big flapping movement to those beats. It's really lovely, you know, and gets it into the body. Yeah, I like that.
And of course, this is also in Amerindian, so
Right.
back, and it works really well with the older children. It's 3, 4, 5s, and the 2-year-olds that are in the household following along, you'll see them in the back. They're doing it too. They may not be doing it as quickly, but you know that they've been listening all week and they're going around their house.
Yeah. When I realized that the flapping of the wings could create those big beats, that was sort of life-changing for me. And I even had a student say, I love it when we do that part. Like that felt good to them. And so now they have it. Now we can go to the res bars, and I bet they'll have almost a flapping motion while they do the D and the A, and they're going to be able to fill that time and not be too worried. And if we're on the macro beat, right? So yeah, I think this one is a keeper for me.
You used the term a second ago, audiate. Could you define that for us? I know it's an Ed Gordon term, but some people listening may not know what that means. So,
well, to audiate means to hear it in your mind's ear. So when we sing our tonal patterns, for example, the reason why we sing them one at a time and we don't sing them as all one big long phrase is to give the child a chance to audiate, hear in their ear, their mind's ear, each pitch. So everything we do, our goal is for everything to become so that it's audiated, because when they look at a piece of music, when they look at a score, when they look at a piano piece for the first time, after they're all finished, they should be able to look at the page and hear the music in their head. And that's the whole goal. And that's the complete musician. And it all starts with audiation, and which is beginning when they're babies with us.
Well, that kind of leads us right into you, Mary, because I think your next one, you're going to be talking about patterns a little bit, right?
Right. One of the things I found in teaching online, the children were very, very willing to volunteer and be the solo singer. I don't know why that was so different for me than being in class. But I would say, is there anyone out there, after we had been doing, for example, so, mi, do, and we had been doing it, for weeks and weeks, and or a few weeks, and I was watching them. I could see they were singing, because I would say, now, did you really sing? I'm not sure. I didn't hear you. Try again. Let's do it again. And then when I also would and practice it, I would go like, so, mi, do, just give them this feel on their body. For this note's high, this one's in the middle, this one's down low. Then when I asked them, is anybody out there would like to sing by themselves? Oh my goodness, they all wanted a turn. I have 6 kids, and just one by one, I was tending to teach the classes, for the most part, everyone muted, because we could get this weird feedback loops, things that I could not control, sounds, the lawnmower outside the window, all kinds of sounds would start. So then I would have to just mute everybody, and it was just better to just say, well, stay muted. But then I would say, Cecilia, will you unmute? And by then, all the kids knew how to do it, and the parent was always on the side just hitting it. And I would sing a pattern, she would sing it back. I was amazed at how willing they sang. Now, I just really found it great. And then when one kid did it, everybody wanted to do it. And every week we took turns with solo singing then, and that was just so lovely. And also with the rhythm patterns. Now, one of the things I found, I'm going to bring this over real quick, is, and I'm sure everybody's got one of these, this one's a metal music stand. Now yes, right, just like that, Ellen. And I found initially I had put everything on PDFs, and I would just share my screen and use the cursor to kind of like the bouncing ball when we were getting ready to read, when we got to that point. But then what I found was it was more engaging, for sure, because I asked some parents, does your child walk away when that happens, or are they really parent? Well, I had to get them over there and say, let's look at the notes together or whatever. But when I did this and introduced it and put it right up there, and then I'd bring it back and say, I'm going to put that one right here with a magnet. And I made it be something they saw right after we had been doing it. It was a game changer. I did this. This works for listening to animals. Much better, much better than sharing my screen. Much better, because they still saw me. And that was important, right? And I didn't realize it until the first time I did it. And then I asked for some feedback from the parents, and they said, oh my gosh, they couldn't walk away. They wanted to see those cards. They wanted to see you and you doing crazy stuff to the cards. Like, I have no idea what my hand's doing right now. I wonder which one that was. And then all of a sudden everybody trying to tell me, oh, Miss Mary, that was do. They're all trying to unmute and tell me, oh, are you sure? Oh, you're right. So I would just get kind of crazy, and I did that with rhythm cards. I did it with, right? Yeah, so for our major patterns, I did the same thing and did things like, and so I would just always be like a teacher in a classroom, but just be right here. And it just was beautiful. It worked so well. The kids would get out their cards that they had then and show us in the screen. And that was really fun. So I would say, can you find do, day, do? Say that. Do, day, do. And go find that card. They're showing me. So I really have to say, I don't know. I didn't think of it all the time. I went, I got little magnets. This might work. Yes, so much better than sharing the screen, which was so unpredictable. And I couldn't see what they were doing. So I didn't know if they were really watching or did they walk away now? Now I know that they're right there. They're interacting with a person. They need the person to interact with to make it meaningful as well, or as part of it, you know. So that's all.
I love that. The one thing that's been interesting, I'd love to hear yours and Ellen's take on this, because I did similar. I've done it a couple different ways. I also have a camera going down, but I agree, you know, and they were all seeing my cards on the screen and they were all the right way for them. But then sometimes I would switch it to where I was holding it. But I love your stand idea, and I hadn't used that because I use my stands for other things while I'm doing this. But my question is this: I found that in music makers, more music makers home than world, so that age, that they would want to point to their card like they were teaching.
Yes.
I would either get that, or I would get them, they would be looking at it upside down, and I cannot figure out why when they showed the camera on their cards, it was like going the wrong way. And I'd tell the parents, please make sure that the card is facing them. I think they wanted it so that I could see it, but I kept telling them the card, they need to be reading the card left to right, looking at it and pointing to the note heads. So I'd love to hear your guys' take on that, but that was a little place that I had some difficulty communicating. But I love the stand and the magnets. That's fantastic.
The magnet, genius. I've been using tape. I never even thought that this is magnetic. Duh.
I know, right?
Wow, you're gonna save me a lot of tape. I'm untaping things. You know, I take out my cards and it'd be zipping off, and part of the card would fall off. Be like, oh no.
I have small magnets for sale. Just contact me.
Box them. I never even.
You can buy magnet tape too, just to get that little. Have you ever seen the magnet tape?
Yeah, you mean like
it's in a roll. It's a roll, yeah, and you just peel off the amount you want, clip it, peel off the back, and you're good to go.
Boy, more stuff.
More stuff.
Yeah.
Staple.
This has been a lifesaver, because you're right. They want to see your face, and it helps on the modeling too when you're And
Right.
so I do insist for the older students, especially when they have their books and we're doing a song page, I really want to see them doing what we did in class. I am noticing that, and when I've had some students come back for keyboard, and what I'm doing is I'm continuing to use this. Might have two sets, one on the floor in front of me for the model, but also one up here because they can just see it better. So and then if I can watch to see if anyone's doing something weird with this view versus this view, I can always, but that's always been an issue. You can think of music makers when you're first showing them that and you want them behind you.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're in person, couldn't we now maybe put this a little flatter so that they have more, you remember how the kids, I can't see.
Yeah.
What, raised it up a little, but we still keep it kind of flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to play with this, but I like.
And I'm sorry, I was going to say another thing you can do that I had to do for a town hall that I did this week was I made a giant one. So here's the normal size, and it's not that much different, but all I did was put it on my, printer and said fit to screen. And I came up with this. I could probably make it even bigger, but that was a help because of what happens is the lines are hard to see. The stems can be difficult to see, depending on your lighting probably at that moment. And I went over this with marker to make it like super, just thickened up the stems a little bit, but that made a big difference. So I thought, I might use that, moving forward.
Right. So to actually use that in your classroom setting to go ahead and
they can,
right.
What's wrong with Miss Amy? What is she doing?
Yeah,
do it.
I know what you mean when you were saying that they would be looking at it with the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to show it to me. I consider those problems minor because, they're tracking at age 4 might be a little different from my tracking. So I guess. Yeah. And I don't mind that they think that this looks like notes too. Like the first time I remember reading rhythms and the note stem went down, I was like, what the heck is that? You've got it all wrong. We've been reading rhythms with stems up forever. Yeah. What are you showing me?
What is that? Yeah, well, it's just like graphic notation cards. All of those blue graphic notation cards you can turn over. Right. And all of a sudden, woo, 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 ends up being right. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah. Also within the box. Very nice. Yeah. So,
turning them over and then having them make compositions, and they can turn the card any way they want.
Right.
Yeah. And that's totally really fun to do.
Taking it a step further, using visuals to help the children be organized at home. When we were working on Old Gray Cat, and I've always turned that into a duet. Many of the children are just not ready for those more complex left-hand parts. Some classes are different, but I always get a few where, they can just get that right hand, and we've expanded. And I happen to have 4 children in a online class, so I would assign them.
Oh.
Yeah, and then, the cat stalking. And what I would do then, I'd put this on here so that they could see it. Now I had to, some of them I couldn't read, but they definitely knew the picture. And then while the one child was playing the sound, the other children would be moving to the sound. That kept them moving, and it also they're accompanying, which was cool. And we could also then talk about cat versus mouse position on the piano, octaves. And of course, some of them really wanted to make the mouse really high, and then we could talk articulation. But this kept them centered by putting this right in front. Oh, they knew what we were into. And of course, if they were calling, and they'd forget who. Well, I'd forget. So I would have their name so that, and then I would, tape up here. And so they knew it would be their turn next. So then the activity became instantly organized, and they knew what was going to happen next. And they didn't have to unmute again and say, "What are we doing, Ellen? What page are we on, Ellen? What chord are you doing, Ellen?" And then I would, or what was that fingering you mentioned again for that? Oh yeah, you remember the fingering?
Uh-huh.
Now, this is coming later because they're already doing those note naming pages where they are connecting do, so, and mi to letter names, and we are connecting fingering, and we've done it orally, and we've done it, but this keeps them organized. So when they glitch out and they come back, they can pop right in without me having to re-explain where we are. So these little, again, not to take place of the oral prep, just to keep them in the activity. So, yeah.
Yeah, so when they blank out and their brains are wandering around wherever they're wandering, out in the dandelions, that they can come back and still know what to do.
So, this has lots of great use.
Yeah, you got me thinking about Old Gray Cat now, because I remember doing that with my daughter, and doing stalking and stalking and pouncing, and then her being able to go to the piano and get the staccatos and the legatos correct just from doing the movements. I remember we were it's before we moved our weighted keyboard out of our bedroom into a bigger room. It was literally in the corner of my wife and I's bedroom, and we were not a huge space to do movement, so we were like crammed in this little space doing movement on the floor and then going to the piano. It was so much fun. Sorry. But just the fact that those movements and then translating it to the piano, being able to pull off the staccato without even thinking about it now, Yeah.
Speaking of audiating, so that's what's happening, because all of that, they have the sound in their head. So then their brain sends the signal, what do I need to do with my hand to create that sound that I've already got right here? Yeah. And that's where the technique really starts to form, because it's a function. It's a function of recreating the sound that's already in their head. And
piano technique is a tactile event.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And it's a touch. It's an anticipation, and we have to know what to anticipate. Are we anticipating this?
Yeah. Takes me back to prickly tickly.
I think it's your turn, Ellen. What do you have?
All right. Why don't we do circle dances? Boy, that was a real, oh my gosh, how are we going to make a circle when there's no one to make a circle with? So you have to kind of let go of the idea that you're going to make a circle, but at the same time, we're imagining a circle. So I had to think about this. So I'm using Old Brass Wagon, because circle to the left, the old brass wagons. All right. Now, part of the issues that I was having also was, what if they're seeing it backwards? Who knows with technology what's going on out there? So circle all around the old brass wagon. I got rid of left and right just because it was just, and also me going, wait a minute, which way am I going? So when I would say to everyone, it's time for us to can we all stand up with our friends? I'm going to take Flossie and put her right here. Oh my goodness, are you ready? I'm going to go around. Oh, what could I go around? Let me think. Oh, I could go around this. Oh. Can you go around this? What could you use to go around? Oh, Amy, I see you're using a scarf. Oh, yes. Very nice. Yes, why not? That's a great idea. I like going around that. All acceptable. Oh, yes, that's definitely good. You know, we could maybe even fall down on that. Okay, here we go. Circle all around the old brass wagon. Circle all around the old brass wagon. Circle all around the old brass wagon. You're the one, my darling. Did you get close up to your camera? You're the one, my darling. Running all around the old brass wagon, running all around the old brass wagon, running all around the old brass wagon. You're the one, my darling. Could you show me another way to go around? Show me another way. Hop around the old brass wagon, hop around the old brass wagon, hop around the old brass wagon. You're the one, my... Oh, I like that one. You're the one, my darling. Could you show me one more way? Oh! Sneak around the old brass wagon, sneak around the old brass wagon, sneak around the old brass wagon. You're the one, my darling. Now, would you do your favorite one? I'm going to do my running. What are you going to do? Do your favorite, the old brass wagon. Do your favorite, the old brass wagon. Do your favorite, the old brass wagon. You're the one, my darling. And sit on down the old brass wagon. Sit on down the old brass wagon. Sit on down the old brass wagon. You're the one, my darling. And hug that friend. What a nice dance we did together. The end.
Yeah, that's great. That is a great way to incorporate those circles. And I love how you just left out the left and right. That's perfect.
Yeah. And
camera.
Use camera, you bring in their movement. If they're two, they're not going to give you a suggestion, but the parents will. So I'm engaging the parents, and I will say, parents, do you have another idea? Because I want them to think of new ideas.
Yeah.
Changing the words.
Right.
You could put on this. No, I always sing that one. Oh, and I don't even think it's on. No.
I was just going to say that sometimes I have to spur them on by showing them a movement. So another way is to kind of work from the language aspect. If I show them a march, how about this? What would we call this? And let them say, march around, you know, if we're, you know, stumped for ideas. And then that kind of seems to get them going. Then after that, they're like, oh, I could come up with things like that. Or the other one, the sneak, I like how you called it sneak around. I always say tiptoe around, but sneak was really cute.
Because one syllable, tiptoe around. Yeah.
I know.
Now, when we're doing a circle, though, sometimes I will stand up and say, could you put your hand out as if we're holding hands? You'll hold my hand, the old breastplate, and you'll see them put their hands out as if they're holding. Sometimes that works. I use that less and less just because even when we come back in person, I'm not sure how many people are going to be holding hands.
Well, that's true. A lot of times I've used scarves instead of hands. Like I'm thinking of like Tidio. You know, we made windows with our scarves like we do in the classroom. And that ended up being a good way to like something for them to put in the song, you know, skip one window, Tidio, and then jingle at the window, Tidio, you know, open up your windows for that last peekaboo moment instead of using your jingles.
Yeah. The only dance that I'm still stumped on is come along children, join hands to make a ring.
Yeah, and the snail.
Yeah, join hands and make a heart.
I mean, is that right? Join hands, make a ring. Now we could maybe practice our finger numbers. I don't know.
Let's count as we go. 1, 2. I'm sure we can do it. I just love that circle dance. So there are a few circle dances that I'll probably. Well, how did we do it? Actually, they actually had 4 people. They were able to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they have enough family members.
Yeah, but when it was 2, it just didn't have the same whee at the end when everybody was crossed.
It's like wind the bobbin. You can't really wind the bobbin and break it if there's, you know.
That was
a tricky one. And some people talked about winding the scarf and unwinding the scarf for that one. And they could break that at the end. So that's one way to try it.
Here's the thing. There's so much music in this curriculum. That it's no big deal if we have to take a hiatus from 1 or 2 of the songs.
Right.
Yeah, or incorporate a similar one from another curriculum. You know, here I'm just going to throw in, you know, I don't know what that would be, but, you know, pull in another song.
Or come along, children. Let's all tap here. You know, you can just change the words. I think.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
So I think we got time for maybe one more each. And one thing you brought up, Ellen, is that maybe I didn't even think about was even going back in person, you're still going to have to be adapting for a while because you're not going to be sure of the comfort level of your clientele. You know, like you said with the holding hands, that didn't even dawn on me until you just said it. You know, they may not be comfortable holding hands. So there again, with the circle dance, you're going to have to come up with a creative way to handle it again. So.
Yes.
Correct. I've been thinking about that one a lot too. The circling kind of movements and things in the classroom, and how will we, you know, how we'll adjust to some of that.
Yeah.
Depending on the clientele.
Yeah.
Well, when we do that, we'll do another podcast on how we're transitioning back into the classroom.
Back into the classroom.
Back we go. I had just my quick thought, again, this time it was during music makers around the world, but this is the Wild and Running Horses, and it comes up in home and in world and in keyboard. And I'll just tell you what it was, because it was a very spontaneous thing, but I thought this might be a keeper. And that was that I put the recording on, and then I was like, what are we doing during the interludes? So I decided that all of us are riding our horses, right? We're going around on our horses. Well, we just got our lassos out, and we just started swinging our lassos around while we were riding, looking for something to catch. And then we would throw our lassos and catch something. And at the end, you know, they could all tell me what they caught. And they were bizarre things like, I caught a rhinoceros, or, you know, I caught a, whatever it happened to be, pterodactyl. So it was something creative just to kind of fill that time and give them something to do, and also to plug in their creativity. So that might be a keeper for me, getting the lasso out.
Cool.
I have something. This is not a dance, but this is something I thought of right around Easter time. I was wanted to do Down Comes Johnny, and I came up with this way to do it, and I kind of tested it on one of my grandkids to see if it would work. He was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I like doing this. So I said, okay, good. So this works. So what I did was, first of all, you have to put yourself up a little bit. And this is one where I got out a chair, and then I took my screen and I put it here, and I have half of these Easter eggs. Okay. So what I did was, all right, so let's see. Oh, I have a little bear here. What else, right? Although you could do it with like a coin. What I really wanted to do was a coin and a little key. All right. And I do have those things. They're just not here. So I have the bear. Anyway, so I would say, I'm going to sing you a song. I want you to learn the song. But while we're at it, let's play a game. And they were like, game? Okay. So I went, we're going to look for this bear. Your job is to keep your eye on that bear. Keep your eye on it to see if you know where he is. Okay? Now, he might like go someplace else and maybe go someplace else. So I learned how to I fooled around a lot until I could make it look like I was passing him around. Now we go, Down comes Johnny, down comes he. He is hiding a bear, that's all. well, okay. Where is the bear? Does Pink have a bear? And then the kids would all be turning on going, no, Pink doesn't have a bear. And I would say, well, does Blue have a bear? And then I would pull it up and say, oh, you're right. Does Blue? And I would just keep going around. And the kids would sing back to me, Yellow doesn't have a bear. And then finally say, I don't care. I don't know where. And I'd say, does anybody know where the bear is? After a couple, there'd still be like, 4 of them showing. And they would then sing, Orange has the bear. No, you're wrong. I'm not kidding you. You couldn't believe how many times nobody knew where the bear was. It was hilarious. And I'd go, wait a minute. That's not right. And then Yellow has the bear comes from somebody. Oh, there it is. Wow. So it was a blast. We did it for 3 weeks in a row. I just laughed. But you do have to practice, a little bit. And at first I only started with 3 eggshells. And then the next week I said, do you want me to add more? Oh yeah, make it hard. Okay. Sorry.
Did you do the quick question? I love that. Did you use the money and the key like in the same game? So who has them, or where is the money? What?
Yeah.
The money.
I had these little keys that were the charm.
Yeah.
And then just a penny. And
yeah. And so they were in circulation together. So you were asking.
Yeah, it's not crazy because nobody could remember where. I know something's under that orange one. I just don't know what it is, right?
That's so great. I love that. That's because they're singing and they're applying what they know to about notes and singing back those pitches of so me so or so me do with different words, which is improvisation, which is taking what they know about those pitches and using them for other things like we do like with Billaboo or something like that. It's a great I love that. We ended up doing it with I told the parents ahead of time to have a piece of money and a key, and then I would put it in the text in the chat. I would say, okay, parents watch for their names, and I'd say money blah blah blah, key blah blah blah, and I tried. It was a little cumbersome, maybe not the best way to do it, but it worked out really well because then, I pretended like I didn't know, and I sing the song and I would sing the question, they would sing the answer if it was them. It was pretty funny actually, because it was, sometimes the kids just didn't know, but I love this because it's so visual for the online. You've got those colors and they're staying right with you. I think that's an excellent way to use that. Really nice.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And then I just had a plant stand was actually the base here.
Oh, yeah.
So that it was the right height. And then of course the computer is bungee corded to my music stand with, I've got those and got everything just tight. I just slide it in and out the computer. And I could just do that complete turn like that and, lay things out. So that was kind of, that's probably
another way to do that is to take, if you have a second webcam, so for people who do have another webcam or do have a webcam, just take the webcam, you can tuck it under the bottom of your laptop and have it facing down. You plug that in and that's your other screen. So you could put those eggs right in front of you on a hard surface like your dry, like a whiteboard or something like that. That's nice and slick.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that is great. What a great game.
Thank you for that one. That was a big changer. That one was a hard one, a hard sell.
Yeah, it's like not Charlie over the ocean, but who's it? Oh, here sits a monkey in the chair. I don't know how to do that online either, but it reminds me of that. Those kinds of circle games.
Yeah. Mm.
Great. Nice job.
Nice.
What about you, Ellen? What's the last one here for you?
Yeah, well, what do you want? Looby-Loo, how to do echo games, or keyboard improvisation strain? That seems too big right now. We talked about visuals and using visuals. So Let's talk about the issue of Loo, because we all know that, well, hoops are not something people have in their home. So how do you replace it? Just a side story, one parent excitedly told me they were getting a hoop. I was so thrilled. Yay, we're going to do it. And then they brought in this massive hoop. It was one of those workout hoops that weighed like 15 pounds because it was designed for her to go. You added weights to it. And I was like, and the poor kid who was like, oh, let me do it. Boom, hitting everything. And I realized, okay, hoops do not work in most people's homes. So I came up with, well, first I came up with the idea of this, but I've used a book. I've used pillows. The scarf works really well, though. So everybody stand up. It's such an easy thing, and it's so silly. It took me so long to figure it out. But children, you know, you hold one side, the children are holding up the other side. And here we go, Loo-be-loo. Here we go, Loo-be-lie. Here we go, Loo-be-loo. On a Saturday night. Ooh! You put your hands in. Did you put your hands on your scarf like me? You take your hands off. You give those hands a shake, 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 and turn yourself around. Ooh! Here we go, Loo-be-loo. Here we go, Loo-be-lie. Here we go, Loo-be-loo. All on a Saturday night. Ooh! You put your heads underneath. You take your head out. You give that head a shake, 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 and turn yourself around. Oh, etc. So suddenly, Loo-be-loo wasn't all about, no, Mommy, I'm going to roll the hoop around the room, because the scarf, they've been playing with the scarf a lot. So I get to incorporate Alligaloo. Whee! They're doing it together. They can go around with it. They can get it on the floor. They're getting the spatial in out, and we can even go under. So you get another aspect that the hoop just doesn't do, and no one's banging someone else with the hoop, and you're not breaking their furniture. It's a win-win. So it was right in front of us all the time. These things can be adapted with whatever you have on hand. Scarves are great.
I love that. That's a winner too. I think that's a great way to do it. And for all those reasons you just listed.
Yeah.
I would try that definitely in person. I think that'd be really fun, you know, to do it with scarves rather than hoops one time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you're traveling and you don't want to carry those hoops for that one activity.
One class, yeah, that one. Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. And I think about there are other activities that are hoop related that a scarf would be a great substitute for. Even like in God's Children Sing, God before me, God behind me. You could use a scarf for that. And I had not thought about that, but you can, you could whip it over above me and below me.
You don't bang the person behind you and God hits me. Boom.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love
Well, the way you had it laying on the floor too, you could step inside of it like you would normally do a hoop. You could step outside of it, you know. You could walk around it, you know, all those things. Yeah.
That's actually, I agree, Jeff. I thought that was what she was going to do. And then I was like, oh boy.
Same here. Yeah. I was ready for her to go inside and she didn't, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Wow. So lots of creativity going on. And it looks like we're going to have to continue to be creative. I really appreciate all your time. Amy, Ellen, Mary, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your creativity and just looking at some of these activities. And okay, I'll pitch this one question. if there was one thing that you're going to take with you from the online into the in-person, and it doesn't have to be an activity, it could just be spontaneous creativity or something like that, what would it be?
I'm going to say for me, my thought is I am going to do more ideas from the children, because I found that online I was really careful to do that a lot, to really ask, them to like solo sing, ask them what movement. I mean, I always did those things, but I did it constantly as part of a class with young children that kept them engaged, especially those 3s and 4s and 5s and that age range. Toddlers no, but yeah. So I'm going to be sure that I really continue doing that. It's a big one. And this guy is coming with me.
One thing, be more open to whatever they bring into the room will be included in my class. No more, no this, no that. Still no food. Food is my line. But toys, if that truck has to come in, that truck's coming in. It's going to come in. If the truck doesn't come in, then the child is not in the room mentally. That child's out there with the truck. He's just giving me a new creative challenge of incorporating that truck into the life cycle of a dandelion. And the truck has a blower. Yeah, okay. That's what I would like.
Oh my goodness. There may be a transition time. Like we may have to give ourselves a few weeks where we remind the parents what the classroom, what your expectations are too for the classroom, and you're right. Just take what you get at first, because we're all going to be transitioning back, and it's going to be an adjustment, just like it was when we went online. I think that maybe if I could think of one thing in my thought process or in my how I deal with them is along the same lines, greeting each child. There's been such a need to talk to them on online and to say their names and to welcome them to class, because they need that connection. They were kind of craving it, not having it from really too many people. And I think I should probably be doing more of that in the classroom too, and making sure I'm greeting each child as they're arriving, and I think I can bring some of that in to the live teaching time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate all your time, and for everybody listening and watching, appreciate your time most of all for taking time to check us out. Hit the subscribe button if you like what we're doing, and we will see you the next time in the Note to the Garden podcast. Bye-bye.